Guys, the Turbo GMC has 3 big issues, and today we're going to be going about fixing those so that we can rip this thing even harder. If you guys don't know, behind me this is my T6 S488 turbocharged GMC Sierra. It's all-wheel drive, it's got a 6-liter and a 4L80, and I primarily use this thing for street drag, street driving, no prep racing, a little bit of drag racing. And it's just a fun truck to have in the summertime, kind of as a toy. So we've found 3 issues with this thing as we have been ripping it around. And if you guys have been following along with the build for quite a while, we've found a lot of issues since we did this T6 turbo kit. So let's get this thing pulled in the shop, and we're gonna get these things addressed. Alrighty, so the Turbo GMC is pulled in the shop. We got on the lift, and I might have lied. We got like 5 things that we need to give our attention to, but here they are. So I want to go over, since we did 6 summer, I want to just check the manifold bolts and the V-bands and make sure that everything's still tight. This is one of our bigger issues, is transmission cooler lines. And I'm going to keep this brief, but if you guys saw how I built the trans cooler on this thing, I used a 40K. We went from the 4L80 to the 40K. It's got a fan on it and back. With some of the no prep street drags at MIS and hot lapping this thing, and now it's spending a lot more time on the converter to get up into boost on the 2-step. We have definitely found situations and times where we can get up in the 220s. I think the most I've ever seen is 225, 230 on the trans temp, and that's too hot. So what I'm going to do is we are going to make a dual pass system where it runs through the radiator, then the 40K, and then back to the transmission. So I'm going to show you a little bit of details on that real quick. Alrighty, so my truck has one of these 3-inch eBay radiators in it. It's basically the same thing you could buy from On3 Performance, and you can see that mine is outfitted with the ability to put a transmission cooler in it, and there's a lower port right down there. And so what we're going to do today is we are going to make the left line, you can just barely see an AN line down in here. We're going to make that go to the bottom of the radiator first. Then once it comes out the top of the radiator, then it's going to go to where that line was. So we need to remake some AN lines. I do have these fittings from ICT Billet. I'll leave them linked on Amazon in the description below. But this is a 6 AN to 3/8 transmission cooler disconnect. Here they are right here. So this is what goes into the radiator. You can see I got one sticking out right there because I was test fitting it. So basically what we're going to get with this is we're going to get way more cooling capacity. We're going to get the first pass, it's going to get brought down to like 180-ish degrees. I have a 160-degree thermostat in this thing, so we're going to be bringing it down to 180-ish, and then it's got a chance to go through the 40K with a fan on it. And my idea here is 180 right now is higher than the truck currently has for trans temp, but as soon as it gets above 180, I can't really stop it with the 40K. The 40K just can't keep up once it gets above 180. So what I'm hoping to do is once it is at 180, we have so much cooling capacity that it's never really going to get above 180. And that's my goal with this. Basically, I want it 180 consistent versus below 180 most of the time, but then when I really start beating on it, then it goes up to, 200, 210, 220. So that's the first thing we're going to work on today is the transmission cooler setup. And this should be pretty easy. We're going to basically reuse the line that we already have, put it in the bottom, and then make a new line from the top to the existing line. And then the return line that I currently have set up is just going to stay the way it is. One of the other big advantages to adding the radiator into the cooling system here is I'm going to be able to add a little bit more transmission fluid, probably about a quart. So that's not really a huge significance, but it's enough that it is an advantage. So I'm looking forward to that. Well, we got our first line off. So this is our feed line going into our 40K. And this line is the one that's going to get put on the bottom of the radiator right there. So that's where that's going to end up landing. And I am measuring how much comes out so I know how much to put back in. And it almost looks like it's time for a fluid change anyways. So we're probably not hurting anything by draining this stuff out. You know, it's crazy, guys. We got to reuse that line. I didn't even have to make any modifications, cut it, change it at all. We got to reuse it. So pretty stoked about that. We're making the line now to go to the inlet of the cooler from the outlet of the radiator. So we're working on that right here. You can see I got my 6AN line. I'll leave a link to this in the description as well. The Evil Energy stuff is pretty dang good stuff for what it is. I keep a one of those totes, like a Home Depot Menards tote, full of AN stuff for this reason. So I didn't even have to order anything for this project. And you can see this is a little bit of a interesting angle. You can take these 180s and you can bend them open and make them, because the 180s, to me, I don't know if I've ever actually used one. They're kind of useless to me. So I just took a 180 and bent it open to like a, I don't know if that's like a 120, trying to remember back to my math days, but somewhere in there, maybe a 150, something like that. And then we're going to use a 90 on the other end. So I'm going to get this line made and I will check in with you once it's done. Well, we are scooting along on this project. You can see we got our kind of 180 goes down to the cooler. So that this side is technically the inlet of the cooler. That's the line that takes it back to the transmission. So this line is coming down from the top port on the radiator. We need to tighten that guy up, tighten up the bottom, and we are all done with transmission cooler modifications. And then we'll go test this thing, because I thought this up in my head. You know, this is just an idea that I have. I have no clue if this is for sure gonna work, but it kind of copies a factory OEM style cooler design where it uses coolant, goes through the radiator, then sometimes they have external coolers. That's basically what we just made here. So let's get these fittings tightened up and then let's tear into a valve cover catch can work. The next thing we have on our list here is catch cans. And you might be wondering, why do I need to address an issue with that? What is the issue? If you guys saw day 5 of Sick Week at Byron, you might have saw a little bit of smoke near the end of my 1070 pass. And that's because the dipstick came out again. And if you watch some of my tuning videos on this thing, you would know that the dipstick has come out multiple times before. And with a turbocharged engine with ring gap, that is not uncommon. So what are we gonna do to address that? Well, I started building this right here. This is a passenger side valve cover, and we're gonna put this on the driver's side. So I already have one of these with this setup on the passenger side, but now we're gonna be adding one on the driver's side. So I just picked up, or I had one of these laying around, an extra passenger side valve cover. I have a oil fill port to 10AN adapter. I will leave this linked in the description below. And then I have a 10AN push lock fitting, and we got some 5/8 hose. 10AN and 5/8 go right together. So we got some 5/8 hose, and this is gonna be a serious upgrade compared to right now. We're using the factory breather on the passenger side. This is a factory PCV breather. And then you can see right there, that's like a 3/8 line. It might even be a little bit smaller than 3/8. So we're gonna be upsizing that. You can see we already have the passenger side valve cover all set up with a 5/8 hose, and it's coming out there. And then also we're gonna be upsizing basically our drains, or the outlet. You can see there's 2 hoses that kind of go down my fender liner right there. So we're gonna be upsizing those to 5/8 as well, just so that these things can breathe really good. So those are my 2 main things that I wanna get working on today. I have a couple other things on the list, but the checking over bolts, getting the catch cans working right, and getting the transmission cooler to consistently stay cool will be really good for our next outing at the street drag. So I'm gonna start getting to work, especially on the transmission cooler lines and that kind of stuff. I'm gonna get this thing up in the air, and I will check in with you guys in a little bit when we make some progress. Alrighty, well, I just did a little bit of pre-filling on the transmission cooler, just 1/2-inch hose with a funnel. And it doesn't take fluid awesome, just because it's got, you know, an air bubble and vacuum and that kind of stuff. But we're gonna let that sit for a little while, and then we'll hook up our final hose. I'm gonna move on to the catch cans, which means we gotta tear apart this whole driver's side mess, coils, all that stuff, and get a valve cover on it. Alrighty, so we got our valve cover off, worked on transferring everything over the gasket and the bolts and all that stuff. You can see we're roughly set up with what we're going to do. This is still loose because I don't exactly know how I'm going to route the hose, and I want that to look nice. We're just about to throw this in. I did throw some quick weld together, and I sealed off that because we don't need to use that. And I have some of these plugs, and I did use one on this side. You can just barely see it poking out right there. But the one thing that you should know about that stuff is that with this truck being on ethanol, you will destroy those things because they're not rated for ethanol fuel. The rubber just degrades. So I did it once, do it right the first time, and I just filled it with the quick steel so that we don't have to worry about it cracking or anything. And eventually I need to fill that one with quick steel, but we'll get to that another day. So it's been 15 minutes. It's a 5-minute setup, 10-minute cure. I was doing a couple other things, so we're gonna get this thrown back on. I think hopefully we're dry. Looks like it. So we'll throw this on. All right, well, we're back together. I didn't get to upsizing the vents on the catch cans just yet because I got an appointment to run off to, but we will finish that up in this video. I got both sides have the 5/8 line coming out of the valve cover, so you can see that big line that's over there. We're all finished up over here, and we have all of the fittings tight for the new transmission cooler setup. I'm excited to try this out. I'm going to start the truck, let it run for a little bit, cycle the fluid through it, and then we will probably have to add some fluid to the transmission. So I'm gonna do that next, and let's go take it for a drive. Alrighty, we're gonna try something new since we blew out that shock on the driver's or passenger side of the GMC. I'm gonna try some Gabriel hijackers instead of the Monroe airlift ones because they have 0 warranty, which I did not know about when I ordered them. These have a 24-month, 2-year warranty, and they're designed a little bit differently. Like the air portion of it is actually up inside the shock, so I'm gonna try that, see if those last a little longer, and at least they have a warranty if they don't. So you can see here, this is the one that blew out, and this is the Monroe that's still somewhat decent. You can see it kind of folds over in itself into there, or this one still works, I should say, somewhat decent, because they're kind of turds anyways, but this one still works. This one blew out, and you can see that's quite a bit different from what we have working underneath here now. It's got like a air shock portion of it, and then it's got like all covered and a sheath on it, so I'm pretty happy about that. We'll see how they ride. I had a weird situation where this driver's side one was like leaking oil out of it, but the passenger side one did not do that. Not exactly sure. Hopefully that's not like catastrophic, but we got 120 PSI in them right now, and we can see the truck's quite a bit aired up right now. So we'll give that a shot, but hopefully these things work out quite a bit better than the crappy Monroes that don't even have a 90-day warranty. So let's take it for a ride. So we got the shocks in the Turbo GMC, and they seem to be working really good. I'm just adding a little bit of footage here at the end just to close out this video because I wanted to take it for a rip and do some final tuning on it with turn the boost up. But we ran into some issues with some fuel pressure and the fuel pressure regulator, so I'm going to get that sorted out for the next video. I'm going to get a sensor so I can data log fuel pressure, and we will see you guys in the next video, hopefully turning up the GMC, because I have not been able to make a watt 0 to 60 pull in this thing, like a boost launch, since like July of 2024. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's what I want to do in the next Turbo GMC video. But till I see you guys next time, thanks for watching. Peace.